D23 gave us our first officially released teaser trailer for The Mandalorian Season 3. A lot of the footage was similar to what was shown at Star Wars Celebration, but it's nice to be able to actually analyze it and break it down, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. It all starts with a voiceover from the Armorer reiterating that Din is now Grogu's father and that they are a clan of two, but she reminds us all that Din removed his helmet and is no longer a Mandalorian, at least until he atones by traveling to the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore. I think you're making up these rules as you go, lady, but whatever. At this point in his life, Din still seems to be taking all the rules to heart, and there's a lot of footage of him and Grogu wandering around in caves with sprinkling water. I assume those are the mines, and he hopes to redeem himself in the eyes of the Armorer. As cool as it is to say, this is the way, I still think this series is going to largely be about Din learning that there is no one right way to be a Mandalorian. Season 3 looks like it'll be about him regaining his honor, and I'm hoping that he will realize he can be honorable in other ways. He has been honorable in other ways. He doesn't need some cult leader telling him what's right and what's wrong. Star Wars teaches us that we can all know the difference between right and wrong ourselves. I so want to see Din learn to trust his own conscience instead of his cult programming. Maybe he can do that by visiting other Mandalorians, and there are a lot of them in this trailer. Bo-Katan is the most prominent, and we can see her in her hall, palace. I don't know where she's living at the moment. I kind of wonder if she's set up shop on Mandalore, which we do see in the trailer. We can see the ruined, domed capital of Sundari. The sky looks cloudy and gross, and wherever Bo-Katan is, it's definitely rainy. The weather seems to match. When Din claimed Mandalore was cursed back in Season 2, Bo-Katan said not to believe everything he hears. I am so psyched to continue exploring her as a character. I love her in the Clone Wars, I love her in Star Wars Rebels, Katie Sackhoff is a wonderful person, and I remember being floored by her initial live-action appearance. I think they're crushing it with Bo-Katan so far, but I also think she can serve a very important narrative purpose for Din, because she is proof that there is more than one way to be a Mandalorian. But they aren't shying away from the tension between the two characters. She chastises the Children of the Watch for seemingly abandoning Mandalore during the Great Purge, and even though it doesn't show up in the trailer, we've still got the issue of the Darksaber floating around between them. Personally, I think we're gonna see Din rise up to lead his people. That makes the most narrative sense to me. A lowly bounty hunter raised by a fringe cult who changes his ways, breaks out of his programming, and leads the once great people back to honor. But I love what it all means for Bo-Katan because she thought that would be her role. She wanted to unite her people, but is she willing to put aside her own aspirations for the good of all Mandalorians? I don't know. I hope so, but looking back at the Clone Wars, we know she has a shady past. Some shots suggest she might travel to the mines of Mandalore with Din. That could make some sense, especially if her home base actually is on Mandalore or nearby. He might come to her for help. Maybe she will go along and can talk some sense into him on their journey. I am very curious to see if he goes through with this supposed atonement, or if this will be the straw that breaks the Eope's back. But let's move on. I want to talk about Navarro. In Season 1, it was looking pretty rough, but we saw in Season 2 it was starting to get a little nicer, and Season 3 shows that it's nicer still. I love the shots of the Kowakian monkey lizards in the tree. When we first saw them in Season 1, they were being caged and eaten. Now they're seemingly free to thrive on their own. Greef Karga is looking great as well. Everyone there is crushing it. But we see some Niktos, Klatooinians, and Trandoshans moving in, probably causing some trouble. At any rate, Greef doesn't look too happy about their presence. There is a great shot of some Mandalorians in a dropship. This was shown at Star Wars Celebration, but I don't think the camera followed them out of the ship and down towards the ground. That shot took my breath away. And it looks like they're attacking Navarro. We can see Paz Vizsla among them storming the main building, and unfortunately it looks like the statue of IG-11 has been torn down. We can see one of the Mandalorians fighting a Nikto, so I would guess the troublemakers try to take over the growing city, and then Din gathers a group of Mandalorians to help take the city back. This could be part of his path to becoming a leader. He doesn't like seeing his former home taken over by someone else, and so he fights to take it back. It's like a smaller version of eventually bringing Mandalorians home to Mandalore itself. And he might do that after visiting the mines and seeing firsthand that the planet isn't cursed like he's been told. Man, I like the Armorer as a character, but I really want Din to start to see through the lies he's been told his entire life. There are a couple shots of Din and Grogu flying over a city setting off fireworks. Part of me thinks that could be Navarro after they fight to liberate it, but the city looks huge. Studying the architecture, I think it's more likely Mos Eisley. The domed buildings look like they'd easily fit on Tatooine. And yes, we know for sure we'll be headed back to our favorite desert planet. Peli and R5-D4 are featured in a shot. I know it's a silly and well-worn gag, but watching her pat the droid's head and having a panel fall off gave me a good laugh. I'm just glad he has a home. If you haven't checked out R5's story in the first From a Certain Point of View book, do yourself a favor and check it out. There are several dogfighting sequences scattered throughout the trailer. Din and Grogu are in their N1 being pursued by a number of starfighters I don't recognize. They look like they're fighting around some sort of asteroid space station or something. I don't know what to make of this yet. There's one fast shot of an Anzellan like Babu Frick working on something. It looks like droid pieces. I think in the footage we saw at Star Wars Celebration there were actually several Anzellans working on it. Again, I don't know what we're looking at here, but I do love the little guys. And the final shot I want to note is Dr. Pershing and the Imperial Comms officer from The Mandalorian Season 2, played by Katie O'Brien. First, I'm glad to see her back. She was great, and I was afraid she was killed in the attack on Moff Gideon's cruiser. The celebration footage made it appear that they were working with the New Republic in some way. Maybe they're cooperating for immunity or something, I don't know. It's worth noting that Moff Gideon doesn't appear at all. We know he's in New Republic custody. It's possible Pershing and the comms officer could secretly work to break him out, although I think it would be great to see Giancarlo Esposito playing a Hannibal Lecter-type character, someone who can still do some manipulating and psychological damage even though he's behind bars. But that's the end of the teaser. Din asks Grogu if he's ready for an adventure, and I will answer that I am. We get the logo and a release date of next year. At Celebration they said February 2023, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that's been changed. I hope not, but with the Bad Batch moving all the way to January 4th instead of September 28th, that means it'll run into April. I won't be all that surprised if they double up with series at some point, but I feel like Favreau would want The Mandalorian to get all the focus and have zero, quote, competition. But I don't know. After Andor's 3-week delay, they're probably just being a little more cautious with their announcements. But that's all I've got to say for the first officially released teaser for The Mandalorian Season 3. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all our Mandalorian coverage, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.